Tucked in a corner of the Vatican Museum in Italy is a tapestry based on a cartoon by Raphael called The Miraculous Draught of Fishes. This tapestry is 500 years old. Its colors have faded, especially the green tones, but it is still an arresting piece of art. It shows two boats barely staying afloat on a lake. Fish are everywhere. In the boats, flapping out of the boats, escaped from the boats and back in the water, in the net that two men are hauling into the boat on the left. Water birds are standing on the shore and flying overhead, hoping to share in the bounty. In the boat on the right sits Jesus, wrapped in a red cloak, with his hand raised as if in blessing. Kneeling before him in the boat, surrounded by fish, is Simon, hands extended to Jesus in prayer, wearing a look of pleading. What stands out about this tapestry, almost more than the subject itself, is its size. It is over 14 feet wide, 16 feet high. Jesus, Simon, and the other fishermen are twice life size. It's as if only a larger-than-life work of art can convey the wild abandon of God's abundance. After Jesus' disastrous visit to his hometown of Nazareth, which ended with an angry mob trying to throw him off a cliff, Jesus has gone to Capernaum, a day's walk away. Capernaum is a fishing town on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee, also called the Lake of Gennesaret. It's 3 or 4 times the size of Nazareth. Capernaum becomes a kind of base for Jesus' ministry. All 4 Gospels talk about Jesus' words and actions in Capernaum. There, Jesus heals a man who's troubled by an unclean spirit. He goes to Simon's house, where Simon's mother-in-law is critically ill with a fever, and Jesus heals her. He casts out more unclean spirits, heals more sick people. Jesus is gaining a reputation as a preacher and wonder worker. Crowds are beginning to follow him. Capernaum is a town of narrow streets. The largest outdoor space is the rocky beach. But even the beach is not that big. As the crowd gathers at the lakeshore to hear Jesus, they run out of room. Jesus waves to a couple of fishing boats. He boards the boat belonging to Simon and teaches the crowd from the water. Simon recognizes Jesus. They know each other. Jesus has been to Simon's house. Maybe Simon is drawn to Jesus. Maybe he tolerates Jesus as a useful guy to have around when your mother-in-law is sick. Simon helps Jesus out willingly enough, but I doubt Simon is paying Jesus much attention. Simon is tired. He's been up all night fishing, lowering his nets, waiting a while, pulling up the nets and finding them empty, rowing to a different spot on the lake, lowering the nets again, waiting a while, pulling them up and finding them empty again, rowing to yet another spot on the lake. Shampoo, rinse, repeat. Finally, after hours and hours of this, Simon gives up. Time to wash the nets. He can do that while Jesus teaches, then he can go home. Simon stands waist deep in the lake with his nets, picking out waterweed and a manky old sandal, the only things he's caught all night. His mind is racing. No fish means nothing to sell, nothing to take home and eat. He can stand that for today, but what about tomorrow? Maybe if he gets an early start tonight, he can sail a little farther around the lake, try a new spot. But what if he doesn't catch anything then? What about the night after that and the night after that? He's a fisherman and he can't catch fish. What is wrong with him? Just as Simon is convincing himself that he's never going to catch another fish ever again in his life, Jesus calls his name. Simon looks up, startled, and realizes that Jesus has finished teaching and the crowd is gone. Jesus says, "Hey, Simon, why don't you get back in the boat? Let's go out into the deep water and put down the nets one more time." Tired as he is, Jesus remembers his manners and manages not to blurt out, "You're the son of a carpenter. What do you know about fishing?" He does say, "We have been working all night long. We haven't caught anything. Yet if you say so, I'll let down the nets one more time." So Simon puts his hand to the oars and rows, with his partner's boat following. When Capernaum has faded into the horizon, they toss the nets over the side. They wait, then Simon leans over to haul the first net in. It's so heavy he can barely shift it. He calls for help. It takes every hand on the boat to pull in the net. Fish of every species in the lake spill all over the boat. 3 kinds of tilapia, sardines, catfish. The other boat is pulling in just as many fish. Both boats are dangerously close to sinking. Simon is overwhelmed. It's too generous. It's too much for an ordinary sod like him. Shoving aside several wriggling tilapia, he falls to his knees. He says to Jesus, "Leave me, Lord. I don't deserve this. I'm a sinful man." Jesus replies, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be catching people." With effort, the fishermen row their overloaded boats back to Capernaum. When Jesus steps out onto the rocky beach, Simon and his partners James and John follow, leaving their boats and all those fish on the shore. You might have heard me say that when we read the miracle stories in the Bible, the question of whether it really happened that way will lead us into a dead end. No one can prove to us that Simon really caught all those fish. We have no way of knowing that. The question we can answer is what it meant for the Bible's original audience all those years ago, and what it might mean for us today. And the meaning I see in Simon's miraculous draft of fish centers on someone who was exhausted, who had nothing left, not even one sardine for his own supper. He thought he had tried everything and none of it worked. And Jesus brought him what he needed, more than he needed, an abundance so vast that he's got to share it. Simon doesn't deserve any of this. It is pure grace, pure, unmerited, unearned love. And only then does Jesus call Simon to change his life and fish for people. Simon can say yes to Jesus' call because of his experience of Jesus. And that's the meaning I see in this story. Jesus comes to an exhausted, wrung-out person and gives him what he needs to follow. Not all of us fish. We might not know much about boats. But boy, do we know about fatigue. About the bone-deep, soul-deep weariness of trying and failing and trying and failing, of pouring yourself out over and over, using up every drop of water you can find until there is nothing left and everything around you is desert in the dry season. We know what it is like to be Simon, to pull nothing but a manky sandal out of your nets and wonder where your supper will come from and watch your anxiety spiral out of control. We hear Jesus' call to follow him, and we wonder, with what? We've got absolutely nothing left to give. Yet Jesus didn't call Simon to follow him out of Simon's emptiness. Jesus brought Simon 2 boats overflowing with fish, and only then did Jesus call Simon to follow, so that Simon could follow out of his abundance. Jesus does the same for us. As we stand in the lake, picking waterweed out of our empty nets, Jesus invites us back into the boat to try one more time. Where is the deep water he invites us to sail to? What does he say to us as he invites us to lower our nets? What would a miraculous draft of fishes look like for us? How big would our tapestry need to be to convey the wild abandon of God's love for us?